All right, really quickly, I just want to talk about the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz boxing fight that's supposed to go down. And I got a little bit, to watching both fighters just to see where their dispositions are at, in their bases. And pretty much what I'm seeing is that most likely what's going to happen is Nate Diaz is going to come off a southpaw, and Jake Paul is going to be obviously a conventional orthodox fighter. Now, looking at Jake Paul's whole game and how he approaches a fight, he likes to counterpunch. When you saw the fight against Tommy Fury, he was just counterpunching for the majority of the time. He was the defensive counterpunching, letting the punches come to him. He, check his timing. Use some head movement and kind of rolling with some punches a little bit, and was looking to counterpunch Tommy Fury. Doesn't look, at a professional level, if I'm being completely honest, but that's his game. Now, in the other hand, you have Nate Diaz, right? He is a southpaw. Thing about Nate Diaz is that he is a professional fighter, and he has had competition at the professional level, and he's probably faced. I'm not probably. He's definitely faced better strikers than Jake Paul. But we have some things to consider. In the open stance, which is, southpaw versus conventional, the dominant position is the counterpunching position, of course. Nate Diaz is a counterpuncher as well, but he has a very slick way of doing it because he'll throw feints at you, right? He'll throw like spacing feints. He'll feint like he's coming at you, and then he'll take a walk, and then his opponents, a lot of the times they chase after him. So it's going to be pretty interesting if Jake Paul doesn't make the rookie mistake of chasing after, uh, a professional mixed martial artist. So that's just one thing to consider. But we're gonna see how this fight plays out. I'm excited to watching it. Do I feel like it's a fair fight? I don't, because I don't know if this is like a even weight type thing. Looking at the footage, Jake Paul looks pretty big considered. I mean, standing next to Nate Diaz, and he's a lot younger. Nate Diaz just turned 40 years old. His the last fight I saw Nate Diaz have, obviously when he fought Tony Ferguson, and you guys could go back to that tape. You guys could go film study that if you want. He does a lot of things that I was talking about. A lot of feinting, the spacing, uh, a lot of hand control. Some things that we really don't see Jake Paul do, and if he does it, he doesn't do it at a very high or even noticeable level to where I think it affects the fight in any significant way. But obviously Nate Diaz being a professional fighter, he has that game a little bit. He could hand control, and he's able to have different dispositions in both stances as well. And he just doesn't. He's just not a a southpaw, even though we have seen him be in both positions. And I'm excited to see. If they could turn it into like a switch hitting, little thing that from Nate Diaz's part, it's gonna be a long night for Jake Paul, in my opinion. But again, Nate Diaz being 40 years old, completely, I don't, not completely out of his prime, but farther away from his prime than being in it. And of course, Jake Paul is the younger fighter, the bigger fighter, but he's obviously the less experienced, especially at a professional level. But that's just my thoughts on it. I think that another thing to consider is that Jake Paul's more a boxer than he is a fighter, and I feel like this is gonna be maybe the first time he actually experiences something like this. And this is a very important thing to consider as well, is that he's an MMA fighter, right? Like, they have a reputation of being tough dudes to take out, and hopefully Jake Paul is prepared physically, mentally, and spiritually to not just fight a boxing fight, but to fight a fight, like an actual fight. Because as we know, Nate Diaz is more warrior than he is a boxer. Um, but Those are just my 2 cents. If that makes any sense, you know, I'm curious to think what everybody else is thinking. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment sections below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.